Hello and welcome to Football Daily, where today we've picked an 11 of players who escaped tough childhoods to become stars of the game. Goalkeeper, Tim Howard. Tim Howard might not have had as tough a time as some of the players in our 11, but the American stopper has had his fair share of hardship. His parents separated when he was 3, and Howard suffered with Tourette syndrome and OCD. He and his brother stayed with his mum, who worked multiple jobs to support them, sharing a cramped single-bedroom apartment in New Jersey. Sport was Howard's calling, and he initially showed promise as a midfielder, as well as on the basketball court. But his physique and safe hands saw him switch to keeper, where he excelled, moving to Man United in 2003 and then Everton, before a return to MLS with Colorado Rapids in 2016. Defender, Dani Alves. As a kid, Dani Alves would write his name on the walls of his dad's house, as practice for signing autographs once he became a world-famous footballer. He slept on a concrete floor and would get up at 5 in the morning to help his dad with farming and picking melons. From the age of 6, Alves would talk about playing in the World Cup, and he finally reached the tournament in 2010 and 2014, winning more than 90 caps for the Brazilian national team. One of the world's most expensive defenders after he joined Barcelona for €32 million in 2008, Alves is the most decorated Brazilian player of all time, with 30 trophies. Good thing he got that autograph practice. Defender, Gabriel. Paulista is not Arsenal defender Gabriel's surname, but instead indicates where he's from, Sao Paulo, the most populous city in the southern hemisphere. And like many in his homeland, Gabriel grew up in a favela, the shanty towns on the outskirts of many of Brazil's major cities, often rife with gang and drug crime. Gabriel's mother lived in a shack, with no running water and electricity illegally wired in from the city grid, while the aspiring footballer routinely witnessed robberies and violence on a daily basis. And like Rivaldo and Garrincha before him, the young Brazilian used football as an escape route, moving to Spain with Villarreal before making the leap to London in 2015. Defender, Laurent. Arsenal invincible Laurent is the son of a politician from Equatorial Guinea who was forced to flee the country in the 1970s after opposing the corrupt and murderous regime of dictator Francisco Macias Nguema. Nguema sentenced Laurent's father to death, but he and his pregnant wife were able to escape to Cameroon, where Laurent was born. After 3 years, the family moved to Spain, and Laurent, his parents and his 14 brothers settled in a tough neighbourhood near Seville. Choosing to represent Cameroon as an international, the versatile defender went on to win the Premier League twice and the Africa Cup of Nations in 2000 and 2002. Right midfield, Alexis Sanchez. Born in the industrial city of Tocopilla in North Chile, Alexis Sanchez had very little as a child, but was determined to provide for his family. While a schoolboy, Sanchez washed cars and performed backflips for cash he could take home to his mother, who worked as a cleaner. Through hard work and talent, he won a place at local club Cobreloa, before Udinese picked him up and loaned him to River Plate, then managed by Diego Simeone. He later won a title with Barcelona and moved to Arsenal, where he now reportedly earns over €8 million a year. And Alexis returns to Tocopilla every Christmas, where he hands out footballs to local children and donates money for public works. Central midfield, Luka Modric. Modric was just 5 years old when a war broke out in Croatia, as his homeland fought for its independence from Serbia. Modric's father joined the Croatian army, while his grandfather was executed by enemy soldiers in 1991. As a result of the conflict, Modric and his family became refugees, living in a hotel to escape the fighting, where he began playing football in the parking lot. Unable to afford proper equipment, Modric's dad made him shin guards out of wood, and those first years saw the young player and his teammates running to avoid the grenades that fell around them during training. No wonder he's since become one of the world's best midfielders. Anything must seem easy after that. Central midfield, Alexander Hleb. Former Arsenal and Barcelona star Alexander Hleb is remarkably still playing in Turkey, but that's not the most unbelievable thing about him. In the aftermath of the nuclear meltdown at Chernobyl in 1986, Hleb's dad was forced to go to work demolishing houses that were no longer fit to live in, and the radiation still causes him health problems 30 years on. Meanwhile, Gleb grew up playing on concrete pitches, hoping for snow as it made the surface less dangerous. Even today, his school team plays its games on concrete. However, the Belarusian was able to make himself a career in the sport, and he enjoyed the success, gaining a reputation as a playboy thanks to his taste in women and cars. Left midfield, Steven Pienaar. Described as a death zone, the Westbury township outside Johannesburg was the hometown of South African midfielder Pienaar, and his goal was simply to get out alive. As a child, his mother made him sit on the floor to watch TV, as she was too scared of a stray bullet coming through the window to let him sit on the sofa. Gangs and drugs were part of life in Joburg, and Pienaar lost friends to gun violence, while the racist oppression of apartheid prevented him and other black South Africans from living safe and prosperous lives. But Pienaar played his way out, joining Borussia Dortmund and Spurs, and won 61 caps for the national team of a new, united South Africa. Forward, Carlos Bacca. Footballers nowadays are usually in academies and agree professional terms by the age of 16. This wasn't the case with Carlos Bacca, who amazingly played his first professional game at 23. Coming from an extremely poor family, Bacca had to work 2 jobs in order to get basic necessities. This included assisting a bus driver and being a ticket inspector at the age of 20. After nearly giving up all his dreams to become a footballer, he had a successful trial for Junior de Barranquilla and ended up at Club Brugge 5 years later, before becoming a Europa League champion at Sevilla. Forward, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Often labelled as a cocky douche, perhaps Zlatan's personality is just the result of always being an outsider. The son of a Croat mother and Bosniak father, Zlatan grew up in a Malmö ghetto and had to deal with his dad's drinking problem and violent tendencies. The young Ibra loved to steal too, nicking everything from sweets to cars, and once accidentally stole a bike from the coach of his youth team. Thankfully, the coach forgave him and talked Zlatan into pursuing a career in football when the young Swede was planning to ditch the game for a job on the docks. After 450 career goals, that seems like a good call. Forward, Carlos Tevez. Born in Fuerte Apache, then one of the most dangerous neighbourhoods in Argentina, Carlos Tevez is literally marked by his harsh upbringing. He was scalded with boiling water as a child and spent 2 months in hospital, later struggling with the dangers of violence and drugs. When you looked out of the window, what you saw would scare anyone. After a certain hour, you couldn't go into the street, Tevez said of his childhood. With crooked teeth from a teenage street fight, Tevez was offered plastic surgery to correct his scars by first club Bacca Juniors, but refused, claiming he was proud of where he came from. And with 7 domestic titles and a Champions League win, Fuerte Apache can be proud of Tevez too.
So that was our rags to riches 11, but who's going to make the grade in the coming years? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, why don't you check out our top 10 highest paid managers of 2016. And as always guys, please do like and subscribe.